Okay, Judge Bruce Kyle is not happy. He's not happy because this has been a major delay. Today, they basically lost a half day over this issue of what was not provided and was everything provided. The state of Florida says we gave them everything. The defense says, no, we didn't get everything. And now, even though we might get it now, we don't have time to get it to our expert. This is definitely going to be something that pops up on appeal if this case turns out to be a guilty verdict. So Lasagna, Holly, and Keith, Lamar is now joining us here too, here in studio. We're going to talk about what we've just witnessed. Both of you, I'm sure, over your careers have been frustrated by the other side. Keith used to be Mr. Prosecutor, and you guys withhold stuff all the time to the defense until the last minute. What we're seeing is just a great example of that frustration between the two parties. You can see it in their eyes. The two sides, they just are clashing. They don't get along in terms of this and this issue and this trial. They may be best friends outside of the courtroom, but today they sure aren't getting along. How do you think this was handled? The judge was clearly upset. Your take on what we just witnessed and the emotions getting the better of at least the defense attorney?
Well, definitely, I think that the judge is clearly, obviously frustrated. It's all over his face. He's grabbing his head like, I can't believe this. As far as the prosecution goes, I think they handled it well. The judge gave him time to depose him, but as defense, they're going to take that time to actually say, hey, we don't have enough information. They might have every single thing, but why not say we don't have enough information, especially the way the case is going?
Zania, you get frustrated at times when you don't get your discovery. Can you empathize with what the defense was dealing with there?
Absolutely. I think a lot of times when information is converted, if you have a Mac computer and I have a PC, sometimes the way I get information, I might not be able to open it. And when you go back to the state and they're like, well, I can see it. And you're like, well, I can't. And there's this tug of war and you really don't feel like the state is giving you a clear way to get the information. Sometimes watching dash cams can vary program to program. And sometimes, I have a good relationship with the state here and I can call up their IT and they'll walk me through to make sure I can see the actual dash cam, but I can play it on the prosecutor's laptop in the courtroom and get it back to my office and not be able to play it on my PC in my office. So that can be just very frustrating, especially when you want to make sure you have every single piece of evidence in the manner in which the prosecution is going to play it for the jury.
This is a death case. The defense did ask for a continuance before trial even over this exact issue, saying that they didn't have the information in a timely fashion, didn't get a chance to depose these two FBI analysts, and they didn't get an opportunity to have their expert look at that data. This is a death case. Should the judge have granted the continuance?
Yeah, it sounds like, and we're not privy to that information, but it sounds like they've been battling about this for years. Sounds like the judge is tired of it. Sounds like at this point, the judge is like, look, you're going to have everything you got. So at this point, the defense strategy, it looks like they're going to be saying, hey, appeal, objection on every single thing that happens in that courtroom today. They're just setting their case for the appeal.
Yeah, it does. I mean, the judge even said it. He said, this has been 4 years. If you haven't gotten it yet, I don't think you're getting it, or I don't think it's there. Let's go. Let's get this moving. And what would another couple weeks do when you have this roadblock? I mean, it doesn't look like there's a solution. The state wasn't saying, oh, we have it right here. We'll get it over right away, Judge. It was the opposite. They're both kind of just staring at the judge.
Well, I believe in the eve of trial, I have had this happen where a case is 2 years old, 3 years old, and then you just get this flurry of information. Sometimes the prosecutors have told me, I just looked at it with fresh eyes, or I just went through my file a little bit more closely, and now it's in evidence and you don't have a chance to let expert look at it. You don't have a chance to research case law on this particular issue. So it can be frustrating, and I can see for the defense, for the public defender, it just kind of came out in this issue. I do think might have been a little bit misguided towards the judge a little bit, but you get frustrated because it does appear the judge is favoring the state.
Yeah, and you could tell that she was very frustrated, and she did lose her cool a little bit, saying this is your courtroom, you do what you want. But mad dogging him, and it was raw emotion, which, a lot of times we see it when the jury's around. It's very rare you see that kind of fire from the sides outside the presence of a jury. That was not an act. That was real frustration.
Well, definitely. When he tells the public defender, so they have a relationship. That prosecutor, that judge, that public defender might be assigned to that courtroom. So they do this every day, every week. So they know each other very well, and they're just very frustrated at the moment.
Well, Keith, you were a prosecutor for many years. Let's just be honest here. You guys do keep stuff till the very last second.
Oh, no,
just as a
no.
strategery way of doing things. Isn't that not correct? Lizenio, tell it that's
Well,
what
I mean,
happens.
it depends, but for the most part, we have to give you what we have. You know, it's not a civil case. So in criminal cases, we got to give you everything we have.
But do you hold it? Is that part of the strategy? Or make it hard for them?
I would hate to say that, but I mean, you got to give it to them as soon as you get it. I would hope. I always gave it to them as soon as I got it. But are there some prosecutors that do that? Yes. And that's a good strategy sometimes.
I have a trial calendar coming up in 10 days. You know what I received 10 days before? A flurry of new discovery that I'm sure the prosecutors had in their file, but they knew the 10-day mark was coming. So now on that 10-day, I'm just getting emails from the investigator. Here's this. We don't know if you have this. And here's this. It's 10 days before. It's not like that's my only case. Right. So you're limiting my trial, and that's the frustration on the defense part. If this is all I had to do and you gave it 10 days to me before, then maybe it would be a little less frustrating. But I'm sure this public defender had a lot of other things that she was doing. So if you're getting things at the last minute, sometimes prosecutors don't quite make the 10-day mark because the judge would do what this judge did, which is, well, just take an extra couple of hours. And you're like,
that's not going to do it. Yeah. And what we don't know is what it is. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you've got a lot of evidence against Mr. Rogers. What are these two FBI analysts bringing to the table here? This could be grandstanding from the defense for, we were criticizing prosecutors. Well, sometimes defense attorneys make a mountain out of a molehill just because they want to set the record and make sure that they have their issues on the record. That could be part of this as well.
Yeah, definitely for an appellate, this is the number one, and I think that's why Judge Kyle is being as cautious as he's being, because that is the number one way judges get overturned is discovery violations. So I think he's making sure that he is covering his bases, and the state is making sure they're covering their bases, and the defense is setting up their possible elements or enumerations for appeal if there are any.
Do jurors hold delays against anybody? Judge Kyle did a good job, said, this is my fault. This is my fault, go home, I'm sorry. But do jurors hold it against either the prosecution or the defense?
Yes, I say that because I've had a trial before and the jury get a chance to talk to them after the trial. And afterwards they're saying, well, we didn't have to keep repeating that over and over. We got it. You said the light was green, we knew it. You said it was green 5 times though. So it was annoying. So sometimes they do. You hope that they don't at the end of the day, but sometimes they do. And just to piggyback on what she said, as far as the prosecution tonight, I'm pretty sure they're with the appeals team and they're trying to make sure that they go about everything the right way tonight so that they don't get appealed.
Right, and that would make sense.
And I think the jury, they're confused by the delays because they're not told that there's a discovery issue and the defense and the state can't figure out if this FBI has turned over everything. They're not told that, so it can be frustrating on their part. I think the judge is doing an excellent job of making sure that there's no one to blame.
Yeah, that he's taking the blame, in front of the jury, which is very important so that they don't hold it against. Let's talk about, what we are expecting from this trial. We've got 2 main witnesses from the state of Florida, and they're not these 2 FBI analysts. They are Curtis Wright, who's the guy that flipped. He's part of the scheme from the beginning. He was the one that hired Jimmy at the behest of the victim's husband, Mark Sievers. Curtis Wright knew Jimmy Rogers, said, hey, let's go down to Florida. We're going to do a hit for some cash. My buddy's wife, we're going to kill her. She's a doctor. That's his story, and he's going to come in and tell it in front of the jury. The other one is Taylor Schumacher, and that is the wife/girlfriend of Jimmy Rogers, who says, he admitted it to me. How important is the defense cross-examination of these 2 witnesses? Because if the jury believes him, it doesn't sound like there's much of a chance for old Jimmy Rogers.
Well, this is crucial. It's critical for him because these 2 people here, I don't know what the FBI has to say, but these 2 people here are the most critical witnesses the whole trial. One guy's saying, hey, we did it together. I saw him do it. He did it. All right, that's terrible. So if the jury believes that, he's already gone.
Yeah.
I think from a defense point, you have what is commonly known as a snitch, and you have someone, and those people, you know, you try to make the jury have a bad taste in their mouth about someone who would do this.
He got a good deal, 25 years.
He got
And he
20
admits to bashing this woman in the head with a hammer.
Someone he had a sexual relationship
Yeah.
with. And was good friends with the husband. And so he has a personal relationship with these people where Jimmy Rogers didn't. And so you're gonna try to paint him out to be a bad guy who's just trying to get a deal.
Yeah, I think the big problem for Jimmy Rogers is his girlfriend, Taylor Schumacher, because she claims that he admitted it, and she says she helped get rid of some of the evidence, specifically those blue coveralls. All right, we're going to take a quick break. The jury has been sent home for the day because of the kerfuffle inside the courtroom in this hitman murder case. We're also in the middle of jury selection in Wisconsin, where a woman is charged with stabbing her lover to death. We'll have details on that process, which is ongoing at this hour. Right after this, stay with us. You're watching Court TV.
You always knew what was best for me.
Even when I didn't.
Like when you told me you were getting life insurance.
I did not want to talk about it, or even think about it.
I told you not to bother. I said we'd be okay.
But I had no idea how much final expenses could be.
I don't know what we would have done without the help.
If you're age 55 to 80, you can protect your family. Call now for final expense life insurance with guaranteed acceptance from John Hancock. It can help cover funeral costs, medical bills, and other debts with a cash benefit when they need it most.
Now I understand why you got life insurance.
And you know what? I'm gonna make sure that your grandkids are protected too.
With final expense life insurance, there are no medical questions or exams. Acceptance is guaranteed. Rates start around $12 a month. Policies range from $2,000 to $20,000. Choose the coverage and payment option that work for you. It provides a lifetime of coverage. Payments will never go up, and your coverage will never go down.
Just wish you were here so I could say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more than 155 years, John Hancock has helped meet the needs of more than 18 million customers with strong financial ratings today. Plus, enjoy discounts, rewards, and other tools for healthy living with the exclusive John Hancock Vitality Program.
Call 1-800-469-0684 or go online to learn more about final expense life insurance with guaranteed acceptance. Call 1-800-469-0684. That's 1-800-469-0684. Call now.
Best Fiends. Collect JoJo and tons of other cute characters. Solve thousands of fun puzzles. Download Best Fiends for free today. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
Hi, I'm Hanno. I created Gabi because most people overpay on car insurance. Gabi is a free tool that saves you money by finding the best deal. Gabi users save more than $800 per year on average. Go to Gabi.com and stop overpaying for car insurance.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-497-5903. That's 1-800-497-5903 now.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. We are bringing you gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Hammer Hitman murder trial in Fort Myers, Florida. The judge sent the jury home early today after a prolonged argument between the prosecutors and the defense attorneys regarding some discovery evidence. Jimmy Rogers is facing the death penalty for allegedly being the hired hitman in the death of a beloved doctor. Rogers, accused of bludgeoning to death Dr. Teresa Severs, a mother of two in her home. Her husband, Mark Severs, stands accused of orchestrating her killing. Meantime, Court TV is also covering day one of jury selection in another big trial, the next big trial we're covering. That is in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin versus Ezra McCandless. 22-year-old Ezra McCandless is accused of stabbing to death one of her lovers, 25-year-old Alexander Woodworth. McCandless told police she went for a drive with Woodworth to tell him that she was breaking off their relationship. McCandless says that she was in her vehicle, they were stuck on a dirt road, and that is where the encounter turned violent. The medical examiner says Woodworth's body had 16 knife wounds. A doctor who examined McCandless says that her wounds could have been self-inflicted. Now, Ezra McCandless is charged with first-degree intentional homicide. I want to bring in Court TV's legal correspondent, Chanley Painter, live for us in Wisconsin for an update. How is jury selection going now? The defense having an opportunity to address these potential jurors. What are we hearing?
Yeah, the defense is before this pool of 28. Now, all 120 are still in the courtroom, but this pool of 28 are being asked general questions. And I know you just mentioned the stab wounds. When I just walked out of the courthouse, the defense was asking about self-defense, and they read the law of self-defense. And when that said there's multiple stab wounds at issue here. How many stab wounds are too much? I know you said that here there's 16. There was one woman, she thought 15 was unreasonable. That's as I was leaving out. So again, backing up, the defense has asked questions with sexual assault, the presumption of innocence, who owns a weapon or a firearm, who's trained in use of force. Just the questions run the gamut, Ted.
What's set the scene for us? This area of Wisconsin is a rural area. It's outside of, it's actually closer to Minneapolis than it is to either Milwaukee or Madison. What are we talking about here? Is this a rural area? Are the jurors? Do they seem like are they farmers? Give us a sense of what you're seeing in and outside of that courthouse.
It's definitely a rural area. The courthouse behind me sort of is in the middle of, well, there's not much around. So it's definitely, if you're driving this way, you're coming to the courthouse. And from the 120 inside the courtroom, mostly are older demographic, Caucasian, retirement age, I would say would be the majority. There are some younger, but they would still have kids the age of Ezra, 22-year-olds, kids. That's what I'm seeing mostly so far, and just very small town feel. Like you said, I think we're about an hour away from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay, so south of Minneapolis, over in east, over the border in the state of Wisconsin. What's the schedule here? The goal is to get a jury by today, is that right? And then openings tomorrow?
That is right. So after the defense wraps up its questioning, they'll kind of meet with their teams to determine who they want to dismiss. They'll each have 7 strikes that they can exercise. The goal out of this 28 in the jury box is to have a jury of 12 with 2 alternates, and that should happen this afternoon. They're pretty confident it's going to happen before the day is over, and opening statements will be in the morning.
We saw a video of Ezra McCandless taken this morning. This was before the jury pool filled up the courtroom. She's wearing the glasses. Obviously, it looks like she's, has her hair curled and done up. Give us a sense of her demeanor in court today. How engaged is she? How would you assess how she's handling herself in this critical moment?
Quite engaged. She is communicating with her attorney. Now, when the prospective jurors are not in the courtroom, she's very much talking to her lawyers, going through paperwork with her lawyer. She has a little notepad in front of her where she'll occasionally take notes, and she seems upbeat. When the jurors weren't in there, she was smiling, looking around at people. Who I think is her mother, is sitting directly sort of behind her. She'll turn and communicate with her quite a bit when the jurors are not in the room. And you're right, so she has her hair cut and she has on a little makeup. this was something that her team a while back asked the judge for permission, and her mother is able to deliver to the jail unopened makeup that she can actually put on for every day of court.
Now, one of the prosecution's arguments or theories in this case is that she had some gender questions, I guess would be a way to put it, that she was unclear with her sexuality. How much of that will come out? And what we're looking at is someone who is definitely identifying female in front of the jury, right? This is what we're seeing as being projected from the defense standpoint. How much of that line is going to come in? How much will be allowed to come in?
Not very much will come in the state's case in chief. Based on provisional rulings from this judge, there were going to be some character type witnesses offered by the state, and in court documents the judge has severely limited any testimony regarding her gender identity struggle or issues. Now, there is one particular witness who can generally speak about her observations concerning the defendant being a transgender, but the other witnesses were ruled inadmissible. They aren't able to talk about what they think or know as far as that goes. So, but again, in the defense's case in chief, they can definitely open the door when she takes the stand in her own defense. It's almost inevitable that she would talk about the relationship with her and the victim in this case, and how the intimate relationship involved sort of aggressive and exploitive sexual acts, which required her to sometimes pretend to be a boy. So that may be something they open the door to, and then the state could rebut.
And then it all comes down to, will she take the stand? And we'll find out soon enough. All right, Chanley Painter, thank you. They're still working on that jury, hopefully getting a jury set by the end of the day and opening statements tomorrow. Of course, we'll bring it all to you here on Court TV. Well, we're going to have more on the Jimmy Rogers case as well. Jury has been sent home for the day, but the attorneys are still in the courtroom trying to iron out this discovery issue. And also, we want to let you know that a new episode of Court TV's podcast is out this week. Vinny and Seema take a closer look at Amber Geiger's sentencing, where 18-year-old Brant Jean shockingly forgave his brother's killer. That was followed, of course, shortly by a display of compassion from Judge Kemp in that courtroom, which uplifted a lot of people and also angered others.
Everyone has seen the hug heard around the world. Brant Jean, who was the younger brother of the victim who was shot and killed by the former Dallas cop Amber Geiger, who was sentenced to 10 years, then gives a victim impact statement and asks the judge for permission to hug his brother's killer.
It was beyond jaw-dropping. We were just fascinated and glued to the screen.
And she said yes.
Yes.
He had to say please. And he's only 18 years old, but in that moment, what he did, it blew my mind on many different levels.
You can listen to the latest episode on Stitcher, Apple, or Google Podcasts, and of course, you can always find it at CourtTV.com. We're back right after this. Stay with us.
Tonight on Court TV.
We are live in Florida as the Hammer Hitman murder trial continues, and we'll catch you up on the biggest moments from today as the prosecution builds their case to convict Jimmy Rogers. Plus, we get you ready for the other big trial that will be live for this week, the rough sex murder trial. Did Ezra McCandless kill her boyfriend in self-defense, or was it murder?
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Tonight, starting at 6/5 Central on the all-new Court TV.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, and you're struggling to pay your bills while your case is dragging on, that's where Oasis Financial comes in. Only Oasis has Oasis Express Cash that can get you from $500 to $25,000 in as little as 24 hours, faster than anyone else. There's no risk and no out-of-pocket cost.
It was so simple. I made one phone call. Oasis was able to give me the money within 24 hours.
To pay for my electric bill, my rent, and my groceries for my children.
And even if you end up losing your case, Oasis lets you keep the money. So there's absolutely no risk to you. You don't have to worry about repaying Oasis.
If I had lost my case, then I wouldn't be responsible for paying the money back. And that was a blessing.
Oasis, they killed it, man. They helped me out. They gave me my life back.
See how much money you can get before your case settles. Call Oasis Financial because life moves faster than your case. 1-800-605-4381. 1-800-605-4381.
If you have Medicare, listen up. The Medicare enrollment deadline is only weeks away. With so many changes, do you know if your plan is still the right fit? Having the wrong plan may cost you thousands of dollars out of pocket. And that's why I love Health Markets, your insurance marketplace. With their new Fit Score, they compare thousands of plans from national insurance companies to find the right Medicare plan that fits you. Call or visit Health Markets to find your Fit Score today. In minutes, you can find out if your current plan is the right fit, or if there's another one that can get you extra coverage or help save you money. Best of all, their service is completely free. Does your plan have $0 copays, $0 deductibles, and $0 premiums? If not, maybe it's not the right fit. Does it include dental and vision coverage? Well, if not, maybe it's not the right fit. How about hearing aids, glasses, and gym memberships at no additional cost? Maybe there's a better fit for you. Call Health Markets now or visit healthmarkets.com for your free Fit Score. We can instantly compare thousands of Medicare plans with all of these benefits and more, including plans that may let you keep your doctor and save money. With the annual Medicare enrollment deadline coming, don't waste another minute not knowing if you have the right Medicare fit. For this free service, go to healthmarkets.com or call right now. Having helped enroll people in millions of policies with an A-plus customer satisfaction rating, you can trust Health Markets. Don't assume that your plan is still the right fit. The Health Markets Fit Score makes it easy to find the right Medicare plan for you. Health Markets doesn't just work for one insurance company. They work to help you, and they do it all for free.
Your insurance marketplace, Health Markets.
There may be Medicare benefits and savings you're missing out on. Only Health Markets has the free Fit Score. Call 800-290-6422 before the deadline. That's 800-290-6422.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. We're bringing you coverage of the Hammer Hitman trial out of Fort Myers, Florida. The judge sent the jury home earlier this afternoon, just about an hour ago, after a prolonged argument between the prosecution and the defense about discovery. We are also, of course, covering Wisconsin versus McCandless. She is the woman charged with stabbing her lover to death. She claims it was self-defense, but the state has charged her with first-degree murder. Joining me now in studio to talk about both of these cases, and we're going to start with Wisconsin. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Keith Lamar and criminal defense attorney Lizania Holly. This Wisconsin case is a lot of layers, and the jury's going to hear a lot more than maybe you would in a normal case because this is a self-defense case. So the victim in this case is also going to be analyzed, and the jury is going to see that this victim had some issues. Your first take on this. What are you expecting from it, and your thoughts about this case in general?
Well, I'm expecting it's going to be a wild ride. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, I guess, with the state's case because, of course, you have a victim that's not the best victim, but you also have a defendant that's history is not good, and if the judge allows them to bring in as much as they can, they got a pretty good case. But it's going to be an uphill battle for the defense side as well because at the same time, she's not good. And they're going to bring all that out.
Yeah, Lizania, the fact is she lied. She lied about the initial incident. She shows up at this man's house all, disheveled and claims that she doesn't know where her boyfriend is, doesn't even tell him, doesn't say her name. It's not till they have to pull everything out of her, basically. And then she says that her arm has, there's the word boy is carved in her arm. Carved, I mean, it used a knife, was cut superficially, though. It's not as though blood, but it's there. It says boy. She says that this guy did it during this, fight. She was fighting for her life, and at some point, the victim in the case, Alex Woodworth, he did this to her. Well, it didn't take long for the investigators to realize she did it herself. She then admits it. How bad does that look when you're a juror and the defendant has lied about X, Y, and Z? How much does that carry over, even though there's no direct evidence of the murder?
It will play into the jury's mind. I think this is really going to come down to a credibility issue. Will they believe McCandless? Like, will she come across credible? Because it's really going to be her word against the victim who's deceased. So he can't come and say, no, I didn't attack her. So she has to be believable. And I think that's one of the key things that the state is going to play up, is that she wasn't forthcoming. But, I'm sure the defense has some strategy. I don't know that victims, and if she is in fact a victim of this alleged rape or aggressive sexual attack, she's a victim. And that's what they're going to try to paint her as. And victims, the fact that she showed up disheveled, she did show up to a stranger's house, she wasn't able to articulate, those could be natural reactions of trauma.
Worked in her favor. Yeah, and the fact that the victim in this case does have some issues in terms of his writings, they're very dark. I mean, he takes things to a crazy level, even to cannibalism. I mean, if they get out that this guy is a cannibal or wannabe cannibal, sorry, then I kind of believe that he's at least capable of attacking somebody.
Right. And they can do that. And the defense has a very, very wide options of things they can argue, right? So when you're looking at it, you got a love square. I think that's what you said earlier.
Yeah, because there's 3 men that she was having sexual relations with during this time period. So rather than the love triangle, it's the love square, the state is calling it. Which complicates it too. We're going to hear from the 2, surviving members of that square, the 2 men. They're both going to take the stand.
And they all were friends, correct?
Yeah. Oh, they all knew each other on some levels. The 2 knew each other very well. What happened was her boyfriend at the time, Jason Mengel, went off to. He had a commitment with the armed forces. He was gone for a couple weeks. And during that time, he even said, he asked his buddy, John Hansen, to please take care of, my girl while I'm gone. Well, old Johnny came through. He
First mistake.
He apparently started having sex with her and while he was gone. And then there was this other individual, the victim, Alex Woodworth, who also had a sexual relationship ongoing for a few months leading up to this time period in February of 2018. So a lot of layers. You're going to hear from both of these boyfriends, I guess we'll just call them. They'll both come in here. One of them, Hansen, is going to disparage her, call her a liar. But Mengel is going to come in and say that he saw the victim in this case actually cut himself at one point and was violent and had these violent sort of thoughts. Which could be very compelling.
Yeah, that's going to be damaging. You don't want to hear that from the state side. So, it's going to be a wild ride. I'm looking forward to seeing that first witness come on there and see what they got to talk about, because it's very interesting.
And jury selection going on today. It's a rural area. We heard Chanley Painter talking about this area in Wisconsin. There's not a lot of activity, and she said that the jury pool, from her observation in that courtroom this morning, skews older. That to me skews conservative, and that to me says I don't understand this, stuff about the transgenderish and the weird, sexual fantasies that these people are having. It can turn a juror off, and I think it would turn them towards the prosecution because they look at the defendant table when they're talking about these things, and that could be hard for the defense to get over.
Absolutely. I think the defense really is going to win or lose with how carefully they pick this jury. Because you're right, you're going to need someone a little bit more open-minded who's not like that, that I don't want to do that twit stuff that they're doing,
Right.
You want them to understand a more progressive lifestyle. She's a young lady, and it sounds like she was having sexual relationships with more than one person. You need someone who's not turned off by that, and you also need someone who's not turned off by someone exploring different open sexual practices, which could be slightly favorable to the state too, because they need someone to understand the victim as well, because it sounds like he had some very out there past 50 Shades of Grey type of sexual mentality. So you want someone who can not be off-putting and just kind of listen to more of the statute type facts, like, was this first degree intentional murder? That's what you want someone to focus, not on did this person have cannibalism type ways. That's And it's going to be difficult to do because we're all
Cannibalism is a tough one to get around.
It's hard to
Right?
skip over.
This is, Wisconsin. That's where Jeffrey Dahmer was. Ed Gein. So the people in Wisconsin know about that. It's going to be a fascinating
And that's
case.
a smear, a stain for the state. They don't want any more of that either.
And that's one thing that, it's going to be a hurdle for law students to understand. That's how important, she said it, voir dire is so important to your case, because if you have the wrong jury, you've lost before you even put on your first argument. So you got to make sure you pick the right jurors.
Absolutely, which can be tough to do with a limited jury pool. You've got 7 strikes, that's all you have, and 1 day of interaction with these folks. It's just a 1-day jury selection process. All right, we're going to take a quick break. More on the contentious moments today in that Florida courtroom. Ooh, the judge was mad, the defense was irate, the prosecutor was upset as well. Everybody very upset in that room. We're going to revisit that. We'll show some of that to you. All that and more coming up on Court TV Live. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Sam Davis, and I'm going to tell you about exciting plans available to anyone with Medicare. Many plans provide broad coverage and still may save you money on monthly premiums and prescription drugs. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits, but you have to meet a deductible for each, and then you're still responsible for 20% of the cost. Next, let's look at a Medicare supplement plan. As you can see, they cover the same things as Original Medicare, and they also cover your Medicare deductibles and coinsurance, but they often have higher monthly premiums and no prescription drug coverage. Now, let's take a look at Humana's Medicare Advantage plans. With a Humana Medicare plan, hospital stays, doctor office visits, and Medicare deductibles are covered. And of course, most Humana Medicare Advantage plans include prescription drug coverage. In fact, in 2018, Humana Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan members saved an estimated $7,400 on average on their prescription costs. Most Humana Medicare Advantage plans help you stay active and keep fit by including a Silver Sneakers fitness program at no extra cost. And you may be able to save on dental and vision expenses because coverage is now included with most Humana Medicare Advantage plans. You get all this coverage for as low as a $0 monthly plan premium in many areas. And your doctor and hospital may already be a part of Humana's large network. If you want the facts, call right now for the free decision guide from Humana. There is no obligation, so call the number on your screen right now to see if your doctor is in our network, to find out if you could save on your prescriptions, and to get our free decision guide. Licensed Humana sales agents are standing by, so call now.
We all know that movement is like medicine, but getting the movement you need to feel better can be a challenge. Now you can keep fit while you sit with QB, the world's leading compact seated elliptical. QB gives you active sitting, letting you burn calories and keep moving in an easy and low impact way, all while you work, read, or watch TV.
I think it's really important to get people moving, and QB is an excellent way to start providing non-weight bearing range of motion for those who have not been using their joints.
QB was named a top 10 gift by Time Magazine and has been featured all over the world with hundreds of amazing reviews. QB has developed a unique, patented technology that fits anywhere. It's whisper quiet while it works your abs and core, hip flexors, glutes, quads, hamstrings, and calves. That's more than half your body's muscle groups. Using QB is proven to expend nearly 85% more energy than sitting. The low impact can assist your rehab or physical therapy and keeps you moving for better health. And you can monitor your progress, see your strides, calories burned, and duration of use, or turn up the resistance. Your QB comes almost completely assembled, and it's perfect if you're just starting on your quest to revitalize, suffer from joint pain, mobility issues, or just want to burn extra calories while comfortably sitting.
The nice thing about the QB is when I get up in the morning, I'm really stiff between my neck, my knee, my fibromyalgia. It's great to just have a cup of coffee or read a book and sit down and stay in motion and get the blood flowing, and then I feel great.
Experts agree, sitting and being sedentary is the new smoking. Call or log on to find out how to get your QB with free shipping and a 30-day completely risk-free trial. And for ordering today, you'll also get this QB workout mat, a $30 value free. Now keep fit while you sit with QB.
Order your QB now. Call 1-800-859-2616 or go to buyqb.com. That's 1-800-859-2616. Order now.
Your Honor, the state has no problem taking the time if the court recesses to sit here with the computer opened and show Ms. Fitzgeorge each of these discs.
So you have no preference? Okay. Defense.
Do I then get time to consult with my expert?
You've had this information according to them, but to make sure that it's really there, if you want time to talk to her now, that's the question. That's what I'm asking you. I'm not talking about anything after that right now.
But you're presuming that they're telling the truth and I'm not.
I had a witness up here under oath who's the one who sent it, and I'm giving you another opportunity to go talk to her so she can point those out. I'm not saying anyone's lying. And to put that on the record, I think is unfair to say that that's what I'm doing, because that is not what I'm doing.
Ooh, what an afternoon in that Florida courtroom. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. That was Judge Bruce Kyle in Florida versus Jimmy Rogers after some very tense banter between Judge Kyle and Assistant Public Defender Kathleen Fitzgeorge. The jury was dismissed for the day to allow the defense some time to further question this FBI trace evidence analyst who was on the stand, and she's at the core of this. The defense is claiming they didn't get all the information they needed. Well, the judge showed some clear annoyance today at the defense for waiting until trial to ask the analyst about these documents and go over what they received and to see if anything was missing. Fitzgeorge continued to argue that even if the state or the analysts say they provided everything, it doesn't mean she has it all. She said at one point, it doesn't mean I can open it. I don't have it, is basically her argument to the judge. It was a bit confusing at times, but one thing was perfectly clear. Emotions were running very high in that Fort Myers courtroom this afternoon. The two FBI analysts will take the stand in the morning after the attorneys continue to vet out what this witness has, what documents there are this afternoon. This is a case that involves a twisted romantic relationship, possible financial payouts, and allegations of a sinister plot to kill the victim, in this case, Dr. Teresa Sievers. Court TV crime and justice reporter Julia Janae gets us caught up to speed on the facts of this entire case.
In balmy Bonita Springs, Florida, on June 28, 2015, a Dr. Teresa Sievers was just arriving back home from vacation alone. She planned to go back to work at her busy private practice, but she never made it to the office.
She's dead on the floor, and there's a hammer at the side.
The next morning, police discovered her body and a bloody scene in her kitchen. The 46-year-old wife and mother was brutally beaten to death in an ambush attack. All while her husband, Mark Sievers, and their two daughters were states away in Connecticut.
This was a very safe neighborhood.
Her horrifying death shook the community to its core. Questions swirled as her family searched for answers.
It's a very emotional time for everybody. So we just ask, that everybody just keeps everyone in these circumstances right now in their prayers.
With no suspects and few leads, police interviewed everyone, including Teresa's mother.
We both were out in the yard screaming, crying. I guess she can keep me alive now from heaven.
More investigation revealed Teresa and Mark's marriage of 12 years had many layers. Teresa's obituary describes Mark as her loving husband. Friends and family said the couple had typical arguments, often stemming from their shared work. Mark managed his wife's medical office and was a stay-at-home dad. Teresa's practice specialized in anti-aging and holistic care and was inspired by Eastern medicine. But Mark and Teresa's work relationship wasn't the only thing unconventional. Cell phone records and letters recovered by police detailed Mark and Teresa's open marriage, other sexual partners, and a fantasy Teresa had involving Mark's friend, Curtis Wainwright. 11 days after Teresa's brutal murder, a tip from an informant took investigators to Missouri.
I seen like 20 SWAT guys or so. A whole bunch of jackets and flag jackets and a whole lot of rifles.
Their investigation led them to a suspect, Jimmy Ray Rogers.
Asked us if we seen anything suspicious to give him a call.
Rogers lived in this mobile home park with his girlfriend, Taylor Shoemaker. She would tell investigators Rogers made an unexplained trip to Florida.
I asked him
what he went down there for, and he said to make money. And then asked him how does he make money, and it was murdering Mark's wife. I said, did you shoot her? And he said, no. And I said, then how'd you kill her? And he made a stupid little chuckle that he does, and then said, with a hammer.
Neighbors pointed to another connection. Rogers was good friends with Curtis Wainwright.
He used to go over to Jim's all the time.
Police arrested and charged Rogers and Wright with Teresa's murder. But for the Lee County Sheriff's Office, the case was not closed. Mark Sievers fell under what Sheriff Mike Scott called an envelope of suspicion. Months would pass and Mark remained a free man, fighting to keep custody of his 2 daughters.
Is this out of control? Yeah, we would say it is absolutely out of control. We've got an ongoing criminal investigation which can and will very likely result in the arrest of additional suspects.
Mr. Sievers, should you be incarcerated, who do you want to have custody of your children?
Then on February 6, 2016, 7 months after Teresa's death, deputies would make their 3rd and final arrest.
I think a lot of people have been waiting for this day.
Mark Sievers was indicted for first-degree murder and orchestrating the deadly scheme.
Wainwright, Jimmy Rogers, and Mark Sievers are locked up where they belong.
Life insurance policies worth nearly $5 million only added to the prosecution's case about a sinister plot. Police allege Mark conspired with his friend Wright as early as April of 2015. Then in June of 2015, Wright solicited Rogers to travel with him from Cadet, Missouri to Bonita Springs, Florida. There, authorities say the 2 men caused Teresa's death by blunt force trauma.
Anybody who has a heart is feeling very sad for those children right now.
Rogers and Mark Sievers pleaded not guilty, but Wright turned state's evidence and took a deal in 2016 just before Sievers' arrest. Wright is expected to testify against his 2 co-defendants who both face the death penalty if convicted for the murder of a woman who spent her life helping others heal.
What a fascinating case it is. Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Keith Lamar with me, along with criminal defense attorney Lizania Holly. This case is all about these 2 witnesses. We were talking earlier. You've got the Curtis Wright, who is allegedly one of the masterminds here, along with the doctor's husband. And then you have the wife/girlfriend who just basically laid it out. He told me he killed this lady, and he said he did it with a hammer, and lo and behold, there's the hammer in this case. How devastating is her testimony, and how do you get around it?
So her testimony is 100% guilty, right? It's she has facts and details that nobody should know, especially since he's in Missouri and it's happened in Florida.
Yeah.
To come down and say, hey, well, he joked around about beating her with a hammer, and then he said he did it with a hammer, and then she helped him get rid of some clothes that had some more evidence on it that came from Florida. Terrible. So her evidence is everything. If the jury believes her, I can't see how they would come back and acquit him.
Zania, today we're the court out early because of this issue with discovery. So far, we haven't heard from either one of these star witnesses. The state setting the table. You think they'll finish with them back to back? Is that what you would do in terms of order? Because order can be very important.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're going to be the final 1 or 2 witnesses that the state will put up. You want the jury to have that information fresh. You don't care if they forget what the FBI agents have to say after all of this discovery, contentious moments, and you don't really care about the investigators' information. You want them to know and have intimate details about the plot, the arrangement, and the actual physical actions of the defendant during this murder.
Yeah, and that'll come out with Taylor Shoemaker and then Curtis Wright, the co-conspirator who has turned state's evidence. He's going to come on in there and say that Jimmy Rogers was right there along for the ride the entire time. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this case and that case in Wisconsin. They're still picking a jury at this hour, trying to get 12 men and women to decide the fate of the defendant who's accused of killing her boyfriend. You watch Report TV, your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Court TV.
We are live in Florida as the Hammer Hitman murder trial continues, and we'll catch you up on the biggest moments from today as the prosecution builds their case to convict Jimmy Rogers. Plus, we get you ready for the other big trial that will be live for this week, the rough sex murder trial. Did Ezra McCandless kill her boyfriend in self-defense, or was it murder?
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Tonight, starting at 6/5 Central on the all-new Court TV.
Driving without car insurance? Sooner or later, your luck will run out. Why chance it? As little as $20 down gets you covered with Good to Go auto insurance.
Visit goodtogo.com for a free rate quote now. That's goodtogo.com.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare or who expects to join soon.
This card I'm holding in my hand, it's an example of an all-in-one Medicare Advantage membership card.
The kind of Medicare coverage that comes with this simple little card can help you in so many ways.
The Medicare Advantage plan that I've got, it has paved the way for more independence. It's all inclusive. They take care of all my pharmacy, they take care of all my medical, they take care of my doctor bills.
I actually don't even have to pay for a doctor visit, and that's fantastic.
If you're already on Original Medicare or you're about to become eligible, you may be familiar with Parts A and B.
Those cover your doctor visits and hospital care, things you'll also get in an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan. But all-in-one Advantage card holders may get so much more.
I have only one card, and that card helps me with my vision costs, my dental costs, my pharmacy costs, my doctor costs.
Let's scroll a list of the potential benefits that can be covered with this single kind of card. And remember, in addition to all of this, you're still getting the Medicare, hospital, and medical benefits to which you're entitled. Oh, and are you sitting down? These plans may have a $0 monthly premium depending on where you live, no matter your health status or how much money you earn each year.
It is not trickery at all when you hear $0. I'm proof positive.
I love the $0 plans. That fits my pocketbook really well.
Compared to Original Medicare recipients, people with one of these all-in-one Medicare plans had 23% fewer hospital stays and 33% fewer emergency room visits, while also receiving more physician office tests and services.
I love my Medicare Advantage plan. I wouldn't get away from it for anything in the world. It's perfect for me.
I have been able to go out and live a healthy lifestyle, been able to do all the things that I need health-wise, and because I'm able to do that, I feel good about myself, and it has saved me so much money.
One card, one company, one complete and convenient package of Medicare benefits to help you get well or stay well.
And for one low or no monthly plan premium. That's the kind of value you can't afford to ignore. So why not find out more right now? Here's how.
Call 800-525-7153 or visit thiscard800.com for free information about this incredible card with no obligation of any kind. This is free information that could give you more coverage for less money. Call 800-525-7153 or go online now to learn more.
Best Fiends. Collect JoJo and tons of other cute characters. Solve thousands of fun puzzles. Download Best Fiends for free today. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. We're taking you inside two murder trials today. One in Wisconsin involving a woman accused of stabbing her lover. Jury selection is underway in the case of Wisconsin versus Ezra McCandless. The state says McCandless fatally stabbed her lover. They say that the 22-year-old woman was confused about her gender identity and was also struggling about guilt that she had concerning cheating on her boyfriend. McCandless, on the other hand, says she killed 25-year-old Alex Woodworth because it was self-defense. She says she managed to wrestle away a knife from him while he was attacking her in the backseat of her car. The other case we're covering, the Hammer Hitman murder trial out of Florida. Florida versus Jimmy Rogers. He faces the death penalty for allegedly being the hired hitman in the death of a beloved doctor. Rogers is accused of bludgeoning to death Dr. Teresa Sievers in her home. She is the mother of 2 children. Her husband, Mark Sievers, he stands accused of orchestrating the killing. Let's go to crime and justice reporter Julia Janae. She is in Fort Myers, Florida. They're on a break today. Why? Because the judge sent the jury home because there were some major issues with discovery. Julia, good afternoon to you. First, let's talk about this issue that is basically going on right now. Jury goes home. Both these sides have to figure out and get their stuff together here before tomorrow. There was some real tension in that courtroom this afternoon.
Exactly right, Ted. It was very tense. There was a lot of banter in between the defense counsel, Assistant Public Defender Kathleen Fitzgeorge, and Judge Kyle, because he wanted to know why a lot of this stuff wasn't handled before we got here to trial. So what actually happened before the lunch break is that there was an FBI analyst who was going to be actually testifying after we came back from lunch, but defense said that they needed to depose this person, that they hadn't actually had a chance to get all the information they wanted from them, and that there were missing documents that they felt like were out there. The state said that's not the case. We gave you everything we got, but that deposition took place in the middle of the day. So the jurors were told to come back at 3:30 after they came back from lunch. So they had an additional hour and a half. When they came back, the judge still talked to the defense, and they said they weren't satisfied with what they heard from that analyst. And the judge didn't want to just not give the defense as much time as they need to get what they felt like they needed in an advocacy for their client. So ultimately, the judge just dismissed everyone for the day to allow the defense to continue to vet that trace evidence analyst who the state says they've known about all along, but the defense says they just haven't had what they've needed, and they wish they could have gotten a continuance, Ted.
All right, let's go back and listen to some of what we watched this afternoon. Ooh, boy, emotions were flying high. Take a listen.
So no, my questioning in deposition did not specifically include what wasn't involved, what wasn't received, because I didn't receive it.
Well,
I understand what you're saying, but this electronic data has been a problem throughout this entire case. You know, with receiving hard drives and disks and not knowing what's on it or not being able to access it.
the problem is that I can't force federal agents to come to court. You need permission from the federal government to even depose them, and they can say no. I don't have the authority to force them to send anything. So the appropriate mechanism was to do what we did today and to sit her down and ask her, I've got this disc right here, and this is what's on it, is all these things on it. And then she can look at it and say, yes, it is, or no, it's not, which wasn't done until right now. And she hasn't even looked at the disc. She says it's all on there, and I believe her.
I don't disbelieve her. I don't disbelieve that possibly the state has it. What I'm saying is I didn't get it.
The state, I'm going to stop. The state turned it over. She said it's in a PDF file. The state said they gave it to you in a PDF file. You have it.
I have what I could open. I can't find.
You can step down, ma'am.
Dr. Langer, who I've consulted with. So.
Well, those are great questions for him when he gets on the stand too, to say that they don't exist, and then their witness will say they do, and then the jury will weigh it and figure it out if we get to that point.
Hold back to here. I'm just saying it should not be held against Mr. Rogers. I've been expressing this to the court for quite some time. I understand you have no control over.
I'm going to stop you right there. You put me into a conundrum where you guys haven't asked her if she had it. You guys didn't show her a disc, and you decided not to depose her because you said you didn't have it. And then I am in the position I can't produce these things, so we would just wait infinitum to have trial if we were just waiting for something to come that the FBI has said they've already given you. And the proper mechanism is to do what we just did and to ask her if you guys want to show her the disc and she can show you where these things are. And if the state has said they've turned it over, I don't know what you would expect me to do, because what you're basically saying is we would never go to trial.
No, I expect expected a continuance that I asked for and I laid a record for to give me an additional couple of weeks to be prepared on this. That's what I would have expected. However, I defer to the court. This is your court. I'm here. I'm doing what I can. It's their job to get it to me.
Well, it's not
hers even.
it's not my court. It belongs to the people of Southwest Florida. I'm just occupying a seat for the given time. And the state says they've turned it over, and that is their duty and obligation, and they say they've done it. If you guys want more time to go show them the disc and make sure that it's really on there, I don't have a problem with that. We can do that right now.
And Your Honor, may I put on the record that those discs are, because they were PDFs uploaded to provide, are pages 84282 through, pardon me for sitting down, Your Honor, I need to move the computer down, to 89079, numbered sequentially, all provided.
I think the underlying issue, too, has been the absolute reluctance of both parties to speak, too. Even on the eve of trial, you guys hadn't even talked about a possible resolution until I told you guys to sit down and do it. I mean, do you want more time to go see and walk through these with counsel, with your witness? I'll give it to you, and we can take a break.
I'm not sure I understand what counsel is saying because
She's saying she didn't get it, and she's saying it's not in there, and she doesn't see it, so maybe your witness can point it out.
I don't see it to the extent that they say it's there. And I have specifically weeks ago pointed this out to Ms. Ross. Exactly. I highlighted the areas that I don't have, which I just read to the court.
Your Honor, the state cannot produce what the FBI does not give. The state produced everything sent by the FBI.
I'm going to stop you.
Those are the numbers.
I'm going to stop you, and it's a clear issue one way or the other. Do you guys want to recess for the rest of the day, and you can sit down, and she can point those things out since she says they're in there, or do you guys want to continue with a witness? And your previous objections are noted for the record on proceeding to trial and renewed at this time, and I note them for the record. State.
Your Honor, the state has no problem taking the time if the court recesses to sit here with the computer opened and show Ms. Fitzgeorge each of these discs.
So you have no preference. Okay. Defense.
Do I then get time to consult with my expert?
You've had this information according to them, but to make sure that it's really there, if you want time to talk to her now, that's the question. That's what I'm asking you. I'm not talking about anything after that right now.
But you're presuming that they're telling the truth and I'm not.
I had a witness up here under oath who's the one who sent it, and I'm giving you another opportunity to go talk to her so she can point those out. I'm not saying anyone's lying, and to put that on the record, I think is unfair to say that that's what I'm doing, because that is not what I'm doing. Do you want more time to talk to her and she can point out the things you say are missing in the PDF that has been disclosed, or not? Right now, I'll give it to you. Okay, excellent. Bring the jurors out.
The state has an unusual request, if the court would consider it. We could hook up our computer so that Your Honor could see as we're looking through it, so that Your Honor could feel comfortable with what is being shown and what was provided.
That's beyond my role. My role is just to make sure everything's been turned over. Your roles are to depose these people and to decide who may be not giving you complete information or have forgotten what they've seen, all the issues you do in a deposition. That's between the two of you. And if there's a gap in that, absent something clearly not having been handed over, that's an issue that you take up with them in the witness stand in cross-examination or direct. See everybody tomorrow at 8:30. I expect you to stay around and go through it with that witness, wherever you would like.
Ooh, Julia, he was not happy. Now, did they iron this out? Do we know?
They could be ironing it out as we speak, Ted. They were sent away from the courtroom, the judge saying he is not going to get involved. It's up to these two parties to go over things with this analyst. I did notice the analyst sitting in the hallway. She had her folders. She was waiting for these parties to get together and then ask her those questions. And they did say they did want to do it outside the presence of the media. So they wanted to go to a courtroom that did not have microphones, does not have cameras. So they are where we can't see them. But I thought it was interesting that the judge brought up something that we weren't privy to before, that there's been a lack of cooperation between these two parties, and that them getting together about resolving and talking about a plea sounds like it didn't come until just before jury selection in this case.
Yeah, have you noticed anything in terms of body language or what have you? I mean, typically you could see if, you know, when the jury's not there, that both sides sort of get along and they help each other. You know, sometimes a defense attorney will get the chair for the prosecutor. Oh, you need a pen, this, anything that is, have you observed that makes you think that maybe the judge is onto something, that there's some real tension here?
Well, you can feel it in the gallery. It's like you can cut the tension with a knife, but especially during that banter with the judge. But they are cordial to each other as far as parties. You have 4 attorneys on one side, 2 attorneys on the state side, and they don't have a lot of conversation in between the breaks. Sometimes when the jury is out and maybe the defendant is not in the courtroom, you'd see some chatter between the parties. You don't see a lot of that between these parties, but they are very cordial to each other and respectful to each other in the courtroom. So nothing overt, but not any overt on the other side, acts of kindness like you're saying, offering each other and helping each other in that regard.
Any reaction from jurors who were told, go home for the day, we lost the day? I know the judge took the blame for it, but any reaction you saw from the jurors?
Well, they've been pretty stoic throughout the few witnesses that they saw today. They only saw 4. They seem very expectant about how this trial is going, because they heard from these witnesses who all showed them evidence, who talked about the blue coveralls and about the vacuumings from the rental car. And they were shown clothes from Roger's home and a lunch cooler. So all of these things they were shown, but not really given any information about how it connects to the alleged crime. And they were told at the end of this that all of this information, or the testing of this, was sent to the FBI for testing and for analysis. So though they didn't know that this FBI analyst was coming up next, that would be the natural progression of this trial, and they didn't get that today. So you did see some sighs from them, looking to each other, realizing that pretty much after lunch they could have gone home and maybe not waited around like they were instructed to. But overall, they're being agreeable with what the court is telling them, and they are going to come back tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning.
And what are we expecting now, starting with tomorrow and the rest of the state's case? What can we look forward to?
We're, of course, expecting not only that one analyst who took the stand today, but there's also a second FBI analyst, and they are both out of Virginia, so they have traveled out of town and are now staying an additional day than they were expecting. But we believe from what the state is saying that the 2 of them will be the first to testify tomorrow. They had one other witness, but they didn't mention who it was. It was a quicker witness, but the state has not been very open about telling us who they plan to call. They just have their witness list. It included about 91 people. We don't know if they're going to call all of those, but they do have many more law enforcement individuals on their list, and we know we have those 2 star witnesses that they haven't called yet, Curtis Wainwright and Taylor Shoemaker.
All right, Julia Janae, thank you. We'll check in with you throughout the rest of the evening here in Fort Myers. We're also covering that case in Wisconsin. When we come back, we're going to check in with Charlie Painter, and we've got the great Keith Lamar here in studio. He's going to talk about both those cases. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV Live.
We got one of those new purple mattresses, and it is amazing. You have to try it.
You didn't need to...
Shh. Just lie down.
Oh, this doesn't feel like memory foam.
No.
This feels amazing.
Right?
What is it?
Actually, it's called Purple, and it's nothing like memory foam. It's a totally unique gel grid technology meticulously designed to cradle and support the human body. It sleeps cool, it's motion isolating, and honestly, I love it more than 2 of my 3 children.
Cool.
We loved our purple so much, we got one for the guest bedroom. That way, when my in-laws come, they can stay in my bed and I can stay.
Okay, feel that? Adapts instantly.
Honey!
Oh, hey, honey. Yeah, so just showing the guys the new purple mattress.
For 48 hours only, save up to $400 on a Purple mattress and sleep bundles at purple.com/TV.
Attention! The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has officially authorized new benefits that Medicare Advantage plans may include. To get the benefits you deserve, you can call the Medicare Coverage Helpline.
Hi, I'm Joe Namath. If you're on Medicare, this is important information. I called the Medicare Coverage Helpline and they instantly looked up my coverage. In this one simple call, they offered to enroll me in a plan that includes rides to medical appointments, private home aides, doctors and nurses' visits by telephone, and even home-delivered meals. The plan also includes dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost.
Don't delay. Call to see if the new benefits are available in your area.
Call the number on your screen now. It's free.
Call 1-800-497-5903. That's 1-800-497-5903 now.
We received this today. It looks like some sort of ransom note. And look how much they're asking for.
Ma'am, this is a cable bill.
Fed up with high TV prices? Get Orbi TV. Quality satellite TV for just $40 a month with no contract or credit check. All taxes are included, so the $40 package is just $40.
This looks like a classic shakedown.
Available at Best Buy or go to orbitv.com for more information.
This is the kind of card that has America talking. With it, people with Medicare are getting all-in-one coverage for their doctor visits, hospital care, prescription drugs, and more. This kind of insurance, called Medicare Part C, may also cover dental care, eyeglasses, hearing aids, fitness programs, vitamins, even healthy meals and rides to the doctor. With this kind of coverage, you do not need a Medicare supplement insurance plan. You will access your benefits through your Medicare Part C plan for one low and oftentimes $0 monthly plan premium. You deserve to get the most from your Medicare benefits. Call now for free information that may help you get more coverage for less money. There is no obligation to enroll. Whether for yourself or someone you love, call the number on the screen now. Call now.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're covering a couple trials, one in the state of Florida and one in the state of Wisconsin. It is day one of jury selection in our next big trial, and that is Wisconsin versus Ezra McCandless. 22-year-old Ezra McCandless is accused of stabbing to death one of her lovers, 25-year-old Alexander Woodworth. McCandless told police she went for a drive with Woodworth to tell him that she was breaking off their relationship. McCandless says that her vehicle got stuck on a dirt road and that when their encounter turned violent, she was defending herself. Now, the medical examiner says that Woodworth's body had 16 knife wounds. A doctor who examined McCandless says that her wounds could have been self-inflicted. Now, Ezra McCandless is charged with first-degree intentional homicide. The state of Wisconsin thinks that she killed her boyfriend and she did it intentionally and set him up. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter has been monitoring jury selection throughout the day in the great state of Wisconsin. Chanley, where are we?
We are almost there, Ted. So one of the defense counsels finished up questioning 10-15 minutes ago. Now his co-counsel wants to inquire of this pool of 28. Now, mind you, all 120 who showed up early this morning are still crammed into the courtroom. Standing room only, listening to all of this. So far, none of the 28 in the pool have been dismissed, but the defense spent about an hour or so asking some pretty interesting questions of the pool. Got a little too intimate at times where the judge had to say, okay, let's move on from this topic, and that topic was sexual assault. But another interesting topic so far in the defense, General voir dire, had to do with trauma and what your behavior is like after experiencing severe trauma. And several jurors raised their hand, and the defense counsel said one of our theories in this case has to do with the defendant's behavior after experiencing traumatic event and has to relate with PTSD. So there was a line of questioning concerning PTSD. That might be part of the defense in this case, as well as how these jurors evaluate a threat and what if the defendant does not take the stand, and would they want to hear from the defendant? So all these questions gauging this potential jury pool. There will be 7 strikes on each side after this questioning ends, and we should have a jury today.
Interesting that they talked about these things. Now, because we should remind our viewers, this isn't individual voir dire where, they bring a juror into a room separate so the juror can be open and honest. Were jurors participating in the sexual assault conversations and all of these conversations? Were there a lot of hands up? Because a lot of times, nobody wants to raise their hand and share. How was this pool?
There were several hands up, but not for a personal experience. It was they knew someone who was a victim of sexual assault or related to someone, and it was just very general. And as the defense inquired a little more, people were hesitant to go into detail for that very reason that you said, which is harkens back to this morning when defense was really trying to get this judge to allow them to do voir dire individually, but that was overruled, and here we are. So they're doing the best they can now this afternoon.
Okay, McCandless, her demeanor in the courtroom. We saw some video of her before the jurors came in, the potential jurors, and she's obviously done up, and there's been some talk about a gender identity and some confusion on her standpoint. She obviously is presenting herself as a female, all in here. What was her demeanor like?
Today she's been very composed, upbeat even. When the jurors are not in there, she turns, she smiles at bailiffs and people who may just be hanging in the courtroom. She is, throughout court documents, referred to as she and her. Today she has on a skirt and a lace top under a black sweater, which comes covering down her arms, covering what we know is a carved cut on her left forearm. That's going to be an issue in this case. And her hair is pulled back, seems to be cut and styled. We learned that the defense asked permission from the judge for her mother to bring in some makeup for her to wear each day of her trial. That was allowed for a limited purpose. It had to be, unopened cartons of makeup, and she's able to use that every morning. And she has a little notepad in front of her. She takes occasional notes throughout the day, but not emotional, unlike what we had seen in a lot of pretrial hearings where she would break down sitting up there. She hasn't had any tears or emotional reaction so far today.
You mentioned the cut on her arm. That is what she claimed that her assailant carved. At first, she said that the word boy was written in her arm by the victim in this case. She then later recanted that story and admitted that she did it herself following this incident. The bottom line here, Chanley, is the state of Wisconsin, the best evidence they really have, correct me if I'm wrong, is that she's lied. She's lied on many different occasions, and she has not been forthcoming with the truth. But do they have any direct evidence, in terms of the ownership of that knife? Where did it come from? Anything that can bolster their case more than just, hey, she's a liar about this, this, and this. We think she's guilty of murder.
Right, and the interesting part about their theory that she's a liar, there's been pretrial rulings where you can't introduce character evidence that shows she acted in propensity with at this particular incident. So why they can't say, they can argue it in closing argument, but as far as their case in chief, their witnesses can't draw the opinion. They can only show it via the inconsistent statements to police. For example, the sexual assault allegation that she brought forth against her boyfriend's best friend, the state can't show that or say that that was a false report or that the detectives felt it was a false report. That's why they didn't bring charges. They leave that up to the jury to decide. So based on all these pieces of evidence, they will argue that and hope the jury sees that and agrees with the state given that point. But as far as the knife goes, it's been a little ambiguous as far as whose knife it was, where or how it actually got into the defendant's car that day back in 2018. Of course, she alleges that the victim had the knife all along, but the state prosecutors say in court documents that there's no proof that he entered her car with the knife or the weapon, that in their opinion, she planned it. It was her knife. She brought it with her that day when she went and picked him up and lured him into this situation, and she's the one that, and only one, that used the knife that day.
Yeah, that'll be their theme throughout. And interesting that the defense was asking jurors, what if she doesn't take the stand? What will be your reaction? Don't hold it against her, because we've been led to believe that she is going to take the stand, correct?
That's right, and it's consistent throughout some court documents that they expect her to testify because her defense is self-defense, and an essential part of the defense raising that is to show that her fear at the time was reasonable, and who can say that but the defendant herself. And a lot of these motions were back and forth about, well, if she does testify, what's admissible, what's inadmissible, because her testimony would open a lot of doors that this judge has ruled for evidence inadmissible in the state's case in chief. So if she does take the stand, then we can hear a plethora of evidence based on her history, her mental health issues, allegedly, her transgender issues and struggles with that, as well as this medical procedure, or aka abortion. So it could a lot more details would come out if she does testify.
Absolutely. All right, Chanley, we'll let you get back into the courtroom. I do see some people streaming out behind you one by one. I think maybe some jurors are being let go. We'll let you get back in and report back to us on the final jury selection process. Appreciate it. Joining me now in studio is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Keith Lamar. In fact, you were a prosecutor for much longer than you have been a defense attorney. When you look at this case and the complexities of it, as with your prosecutor hat on, do they have enough here to paint this confused liar as a murderer?
They do have enough, but it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be tough. So, you know, you're looking at where did the murder weapon come from? They're not able to actually say that it's his or it's hers. He has a bad history from a victim standpoint, but you're looking at her, and if he does take the stand, yeah, this opens the door to a whole other wave of things that you could talk about as a prosecutor.
The fact she carved in her arm the word boy after this alleged attack really is difficult to get over, because that's familiarity with the knife. It's not, disgust with this knife and dropping it and running to the neighbors. And it's setting up this idea that she's going to lie, right?
Yeah, she's almost like she's planning her master genius plan, right? Her evil genius plan.
Yeah.
Nobody walks around with this car's boy into their arm. Okay, it's not a normal thing. So as a prosecutor, when you see that, especially as you just killed somebody, stabbing them 16 times. All right, so the fact that you did that immediately afterwards, then you lied about it initially, was like, oh, I guess I should stop lying about it because it's pretty clear that I did it, because the way she wrote it, it wasn't like somebody else, she had to do it herself.
Yeah.
That's a terrible thing, and if I'm a prosecutor, I'm pointing on that in the opening, I'm pointing on that all during the trial, and I'm pointing on that again in the closing.
Right, and that you cannot trust her. She plotted this, because that goes to this premeditation that they have to prove on some level. That goes to a plan. That goes to she engineered this. Look what she did. This was all part of it. That she lured this poor guy out there. And pay no attention to the defense case that's coming up later about how kind of creepy he was in terms of his own behavior. So with your defense hat now. How do you attack? How do you get over the boy in the arm and go after? Which nobody wants to hear bad things about a dead person, who is a victim.
But see, he is he has some things going on with him, and the way to attack that is basically say that, hey, she had a lost in just in judgment for the most part, right? She just got attacked. She just had a very traumatic scene. And then she did carve that, but she was losing her mind at this point. I mean, what would you do after somebody attempted to rape you? So, that's what you have to go as a defense attorney. You got to really hone in on, this was an attempted rape, and she was she's the real victim. She's safe to actually get away from the scene.
Do you bring in an expert to say that the behavior of someone who's dealt with assault can vary? Right?
Oh yeah, you got to. I mean, in order to justify and show some credibility to what your argument is, because just throwing it out there in the wind with no credibility behind it, the jury probably gonna look at you a little crazy, because she did carve, and who carves boy or anything into your arm? It takes some. It's hard to even punch yourself, right? Imagine trying to punch yourself. You can't do it.
Right, and then to carve that in there. And now she says that he used to call her that, and he was obsessed with this idea that she was, having issues with her identity, and he was part of that whole narrative. And they can use that, I would think, the defense. The other thing is that his writings, his ideas about sexuality, and in fact, he even talked about his obsession with different behaviors, including cannibalism.
Right.
That paints a picture of a potentially dangerous person, and Wisconsin law allows them to bring that in the defense because this is a self-defense case.
Oh yeah, well you can bring it in, but then if you turn back over to your prosecutor's side, this is who she hung with. This is her friend, this is her boyfriend. So who's to say that she wasn't into the same thing that he was into, and they was hanging out? I mean, birds of a feather flock together, right?
Ooh, I didn't think about that one. All right. Keith, Lamar, thank you. We're going to take a quick break. Court is rescheduled to resume at 8:30 a.m. Eastern over in Florida for Florida versus Jimmy Rogers, and it was an odd day in that courtroom today. We're going to talk about that coming up right after this. Stay with us.
Tonight on Court TV.
We are live in Florida as the Hammer Hitman murder trial continues, and we'll catch you up on the biggest moments from today as the prosecution builds their case to convict Jimmy Rogers. Plus, we get you ready for the other big trial that will be live for this week, the rough sex murder trial. Did Ezra McCandless kill her boyfriend in self-defense, or was it murder?
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Tonight, starting at 6/5 Central on the all-new Court TV.
This is an important message for anyone with Medicare or who expects to join soon.
This card I'm holding in my hand, it's an example of an all-in-one Medicare Advantage membership card.
The kind of Medicare coverage that comes with this simple little card can help you in so many ways.
The Medicare Advantage plan that I've got, it has paved the way for more independence. It's all-inclusive. They take care of all my pharmacy, they take care of all my medical, they take care of my doctor bills.
I actually don't even have to pay for a doctor visit, and that's fantastic.
If you're already on Original Medicare or you're about to become eligible, you may be familiar with Parts A and B.
Those cover your doctor visits and hospital care, things you'll also get in an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan. But all-in-one Advantage card holders may get so much more.
I have only one card, and that card helps me with my vision costs, my dental costs, my pharmacy costs, my doctor costs.
Let's scroll a list of the potential benefits that can be covered with this single kind of card. And remember, in addition to all of this, you're still getting the Medicare, hospital, and medical benefits to which you're entitled. Oh, and are you sitting down? These plans may have a $0 monthly premium depending on where you live, no matter your health status or how much money you earn each year.
It is not trickery at all when you hear $0. I'm proof positive.
I love the $0 plans. That fits my pocketbook really well.
Compared to original Medicare recipients, people with one of these all-in-one Medicare plans had 23% fewer hospital stays and 33% fewer emergency room visits, while also receiving more physician office tests and services.
I love my Medicare Advantage plan. I wouldn't get away from it for anything in the world. It's perfect for me.
I have been able to go out and live a healthy lifestyle, been able to do all the things that I need health-wise, and because I'm able to do that, I feel good about myself, and it has saved me so much money.
One card, one company, one complete and convenient package of Medicare benefits to help you get well or stay well.
And for one low or no monthly plan premium. That's the kind of value you can't afford to ignore. So why not find out more right now? Here's how.
Call 800-525-7153 or visit thiscard800.com for free information about this incredible card with no obligation of any kind. This is free information that could give you more coverage for less money. Call 800-525-7153 or go online now to learn more.
You guys haven't asked her if she had it. You guys didn't show her a disc, and you decided not to depose her because you said you didn't have it. And then I am in the position, I can't can't produce these things, so we would just wait infinitum to have trial if we were just waiting for something to come that the FBI has said they've already given you. And the proper mechanism is to do what we just did and to ask her if you guys want to show her the disc and she can show you where these things are. And if the state has said they've turned it over, I don't know what you would expect me to do, because what you're basically saying is we would never go to trial.
A continuance that I asked for and I laid a record for to give me an additional couple of weeks to be prepared on this. That's what I would have expected. However, I defer to the court. This is your court. I'm here. I'm doing what I can. It's their job to get it to me.
Well, it's not
hers even.
It's not my court. It belongs to the people of Southwest Florida. I'm just occupying a seat for the given time. And the state says they've turned it over, and that is their duty and obligation, and they say they've done it. If you guys want more time to go show them the disc and make sure that it's really on there, I don't have a problem with that. We can do that right now.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. That was Judge Bruce Kyle, and it was a very frustrated Bruce Kyle today in a Florida courtroom. It's Florida versus Jimmy Rogers. The Hammer hitman murder trial. The judge told the attorneys on both sides to work it out, sent the jury home and told them to get together and figure this out because testimony is expected to resume tomorrow morning. Still in studio with me is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Keith Lamar. The judge, you've seen judges upset before.
Oh, yeah.
That was pretty high up that level, that scale of 1 to 10. He was getting to 8.
He was upset. I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, I feel like the defense at this point is probably nitpicking. Who knows what these FBI agents have to say? I know they're not the biggest witnesses coming up, though.
Right. Yeah. It's not as though they're fighting over the star witness that we're expecting later in this trial. But hey, this guy's life is on the line.
He's on the line, and she's doing her job, right? She's doing her job. She's fighting zealously. But as you can see, the judge, he put his head in his hands, and he's just upset. Like, what do you want to do? You know, what do you want? Do you want to listen to it now? Or you want to listen to it later?
And this is on the heels of kind of a very busy day, busy day with not much going on. There were a couple witnesses that came in, but after the lunch break, things started to cascade out of control, starting with an issue with the jurors. A couple of jurors went to lunch outside the Fort Myers courthouse, and they noticed sitting next to them at the lunch table, apparently some guy opens up his laptop, and there's evidence from this case that they're deciding. They told the judge about it. Here's a little snippet of the judge talking to a juror about the incident.
Yes, me and 2 of my other jurors went to a local restaurant for lunch. A gentleman sat next to us, who I did not recognize, who has not testified, opened up his laptop and had photos of submitted evidence. I just glanced, asked the gentleman to move. He quickly closed his laptop and left.
Okay. Did you have any discussion with him at all?
Not at all.
Did any of the other jurors have any discussion with him that were with you? And who were the other 2 jurors you were with?
The only words spoken were, "Would you mind moving, please?" He looked over at us, slammed his laptop shut.
And there were a couple photos on the screen?
Yes.
And they were things that were already admitted?
There was one item that I saw that was already been admitted to the evidence.
And what was that item? Do you recall?
It was a photo of Mr. Rogers in a t-shirt.
Okay. State?
Nothing to inquire now.
Defense?
Where you were eating?
We were at, I thought it was called the Sub Shop, right next to the dry cleaners, but it actually has obviously changed into something else.
Thank you.
Defense?
Was there any conversation that you overheard him having?
No, he was alone, but he was not on the phone. There was no conversation had.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And you did the right thing by letting us know immediately. I appreciate it.
All right, that turned out to be nothing. I mean, a juror wants to make sure that what they saw was not an issue, and apparently they didn't actually figure out who that was sitting in the sub shop or the sandwich shop next to these jurors. But again, the judge, I think, doing a great job of dealing with kind of a nightmare day, right?
Right.
One of those days.
Because, in a courthouse, everybody gets hungry, right? A lunchtime does happen, and you never know who you're going to see. Most jurors have a little sticker on their chest that says, "Hey, I'm a juror." you know. But hey, kudos to them for coming forward and just telling the judge about it. But that's nothing too major, too harmful to the trial.
No, that was just the beginning of the judge's issues today. Then, of course, we had the big blow up over the discovery. There was another incident as well having to do with a crayon. Take a listen.
Permission for her to refresh her recollection from her notes as to when she began her processing.
You may do so. Judge, again, objection. Could we approach?
Overruled. When you're done refreshing your recollection, you can turn the report back over again.
Your Honor, could we at least ask what she is referring to?
Yes, sir.
I took basic information of what I did for each day and made a notes page, but it's reflective of my crime scene report.
So these are notes. This is not the actual report.
You can refresh your recollection with a crayon drawing if it works. Anything can be used to refresh recollection. You may continue, ma'am.
Your Honor, we need to approach.
No, sir. You may continue.
Your Honor, objection. We have not received any of that.
Your objection is noted for the record. You may proceed.
Oh, Judge Kyle, he's not
Going
having
through
it. Not having it. Saying, you know what, you can reflect your recollection with a crayon, basically notes that you had with a crayon. And he, usually after somebody wants to approach the first time, second time, eventually the judge is like, fine, approach, you know, to berate them in front of, at the side. But he wouldn't even do that.
I don't want to hear it.
He's like, sorry, stay there. And the jury hears all this.
And it's kind of going to the whole thing about why they're going back and forth with the FBI agent, right? They just keep objecting. It's always something. And at this point, if I was a juror just sitting back, I'd be looking at the fence like, man, y'all are really getting on the judge's nerves.
Yeah, and today the judge did take the blame for saying we're going home early to this jury. But to your point, if this is an ongoing theme, they might hold it against the defense for delaying and basically taking up their time, right? They're sitting here for 2 weeks and listening to this case. Are you conscious when you're in front of that jury to make sure that that exact scenario doesn't happen?
Oh, definitely conscious of it, because you want to make sure, the courtroom is your stage, right? So at this point, you're on. As soon as you get out the car, you're on. As soon as you're walking into that courthouse, you're on. And if you're going to be argumentative and combative every time somebody sees you, that's not really a good look for the jury that doesn't know who you are. And you're trying to represent your client, and I understand you got to fight hard, but sometimes it becomes annoying when you're just objecting to object. You have to decide, yeah, I can object here, but what do I really get out of it? You don't have to do it every single time.
Right, and then when you feel the judge's,
Oh yeah, you feel the judge. You can
he's
feel the
turning on
tension.
you. Yeah,
yeah, you can feel the tension, and you want some motions to rule in your favor. This is not going to be your last trial.
Right, in front of this judge likely, and not the last issue during this trial. You got
Not
another
at
week
all.
and a half to go with the main witnesses still to take the stand.
Yeah, and you got jury charges coming up. You got to argue about that. So why, pick your battles basically at the end of the day. Do you want to go this hard for the 2 FBI agents who might not even have that much to say, or do you want to wait and hold that argument for the 2 key witnesses that are truly finger pointing at your client saying he did it?
Yeah, talking about those witnesses, how key are they? We're gonna, we're waiting patiently. We've got the guy that turned, right? He's told the state, I'll testify against the others, and then you have the girlfriend. The girlfriend who is also the mother of the defendant, Jimmy Rogers' children, saying he admitted it and has details that she shouldn't have had.
Well, see, the girlfriend, she's number one as far as the most urgent, most important, the key witness in the whole trial. The girlfriend is pretty much knowing evidence that nobody should know unless came and told me that you did it, right?
Or unless the state gave it to her and fed it to her.
Ooh, now that's a good one. But I don't think that's what happened here, because she went to the police and talked about it. But, she has details that are just top notch. The hammer, he's telling jokes about it, and nobody talks about this type of stuff every day.
Right, and she claims that his nickname is the Hammer.
Oh, wow. That doesn't look good for him, right? Then the second person, I know that they quoted him as a snitch, but at the end of the day, 25 years is not a laughing matter. That's a long time in jail.
Right, and he is getting a much better deal because he was looking at the possible death penalty.
Ooh, yeah.
He admitted that he hit her on the head with a hammer.
Right.
So he might be calling Jimmy Rogers the hammerman, but he admitted that he
apparently
also
Jimmy went
hit.
berserk though. He did it, but he didn't go berserk.
Right, that's his story. We'll see how the jury deals with that one. All right, Keith Lamar, thank you for your time and expertise as both former prosecutor and criminal defense attorney throughout the day. We appreciate it. Just ahead, more on the other big case we're following, and that is Wisconsin versus Ezra McCandless. McCandless is charged with the murder and the death of her lover. We will update you on jury selection. That is happening. And then we will also check in for the first time of the day with Seema Iyer. What does she think about this fascinating case? That is coming up next.